hello. Today we're going to be talking about freelancing ins and outs. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for Plant Like Things to join in. Hey Adam, what's up? Hey guys. And we're going to go ahead and talk about freelancing, tips, do's, and don'ts. Because me and Liz love to freelance. We love to freelance, we love to network, and we love to do all of that fun stuff. Hey Liz.
Hey, how's it going?
Adam.
Sorry, I'm turning up
What's
the audio.
up, guys?
Yeah, excited to chat today about freelancing. Laura and I have been freelancing. I've been a freelancer now for 3 years, and I feel like that's around the same time, maybe like 2 years for you, right, Laura? Since like you've been in Spain.
Yeah, more or less 3 years. And yeah, freelancing could be hard to navigate, right? Because you're kind of just your own business owner.
Yeah.
As you know, you're kind of pitching yourself as a solo entrepreneur, small business, or just a freelance like designer, marketer, designer. I mean, there's so many different things you could freelance for, writers, so things like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hey guys, thank you much for joining. We're gonna go ahead and start talking about different ways that you can accelerate and improve freelancing for yourself, because I think we should navigate the best way to do it now, since we're in this revolutionary time of working from home. A lot of
Right.
people are dissatisfied with their 9 to 5 jobs, right? And they want to just work for themselves. So I mean, we want to give you the best value and the best tips to do so.
Yes, yes. And so what is freelance work, right? So basically a freelance work, there's so many different types of freelance work. I have a list here. So like writing and blogging, like web development, social media management, graphic design, virtual assistant, accounting, bookkeeping, computer programming, but there's so many other different types of, niche categories of freelancing. So I'm going to speak mostly to like social media and marketing because that's what I do, social media marketing consulting. And Laura, tell us what you do with your freelance work.
Yeah, so with freelancing, I do a lot of influencer work. I do a lot of mostly influencer work for like health brands, using my social media platform on Instagram and my YouTube channel, and also freelance work for design. So a lot of people hire me for graphic design, creative direction, things like that for their own personal brands. So I help with that also.
Very cool. Yeah. So I like that Laura's going to be able to speak to this kind of almost a creator aspect of freelancing. So basically, like she said, she gets hired by a brand, she does like a collaboration or work with them, and then she gets like paid out, which is, I think everyone is just super interested in just learning about those different things. So Laura, tell us like some of the pros and cons of like you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about. Oh, Liz, you're a bit. Are you on
Frozen?
the Wi-Fi, babe?
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi. I
Yeah.
see you clearly.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing you a little pixelated, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and keep going. All right.
Okay.
So first thing I would like to talk about is like actually developing your brand. I think
Yeah.
that's really important. Developing your personal brand, whatever brand that you are as a designer or graphic designer. Hey Zans, there's thousands of freelancers out there, but you need to like really like actually put in concrete why you're different, and why are you different from everyone else. What is your brand identity, making sure that you do have a specific brand identity, and it clearly shows like to your clients what they get when they work with you, or if they hire you as a freelancer.
Mm.
Making sure you have like a proper pitch deck, a proper website, a proper blog, and showing your work on your Instagram too. If you have a personal Instagram or a business Instagram, making sure that you have all these assets of your freelancing work, of your personal brand, to show the client what they get when they hire you on.
Yeah, and you're really good at doing that. Basically, like almost like portfolio style, like deck style. Like I feel like you're really good at that. Do you have tips for developing like your brand, like ethos and like and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would suggest, creating a bio for yourself if you don't have a bio, for like developing your brand, like just talking about any, I guess it would be kind of like your resume. But people these days, like especially in the creative field, they don't really care about resumes. They do kind of care about resumes, but I think it's also visual.
Yeah.
People like seeing storytelling visually. So, creating a pitch deck for yourself on Canva, even a one sheet or two sheet that you can send to a client
Mhm.
for that purpose. You know, making sure that your website, even if it's a one-page website, making sure it's cohesive and consistent with your own branding, things like that. So I definitely would suggest like using, you know, making sure that it's all cohesive with your social media, whether your Instagram, your website, and your pitch deck. You could create an easy PDF on that, like through Canva or any of those like software sites that you could get online for free to create a pitch deck for yourself. And me and Liz use Canva, so that's the most easiest for ourselves.
Right, right. Yeah, just easy to kind of swap things out and whatnot. And so what kind of things do you like, what do you include and what do you not include those in like a pitch deck, right? So like what are like some of the top things to include?
Yeah, I would definitely suggest definitely getting testimonials from your past clients.
Hmm.
For example, if you're a writer or a designer, I like to get testimonials from any of my clients, like that I've worked with before. You know, stating how they work, how was their work experience with me. You know, making sure that you capture those because you are working for yourself, and we live in a review-based society, so I definitely suggest gathering anything like that to show that you are a reputable freelancer, that you're reliable, that you deliver on time,
Yeah.
and that you're unique, and that why you're different from everyone else.
Yeah, great tips. Am I still coming in kind of slow or pixelated?
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good. Maybe we could try closing it out and bring it back in, but I think it's okay.
Is it better now?
Yeah, way
Okay.
better.
I turned off the Wi-Fi. Maybe it's the Wi-Fi. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
Well,
think the Wi-Fi is pretty bad.
so once you
Yeah,
have
so yeah, in a pitch
first
email,
step, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So when you have your brand deck and you have like your personal brand as freelancer or pitch email, definitely include your website link, your LinkedIn profile, add any relevant project samples that you have, JPEGs of your work, anything like that, so people can really visually see what you've done and what you
Yeah.
deliver.
Yes, yeah, good. Yeah. So definitely, I think definitely develop that before. I think that developing your pitch deck will also help you determine what it is that you really want to do within like the freelancing world. So like what's your niche going to be? Like what is it? What are your services that you're really going to offer? Because your pitch deck is really going to have to be aligned with that so that people get that and they're like, "Oh, okay, this makes sense," you know? So it's like that'll help you also really determine all the different things that like you want to be a part of your service, just to be a part of your work.
Yeah. And so how do you go about, Liz, about maybe being a freelancer for in your creative field? How does that work?
Yeah, so for me, let's see. I mean, it's always a little bit different. It's always kind of like it's always different how I get my clients, but basically like how I want to touch on how to even get clients, right? So I think like Laura touched on developing like your brand and your aesthetic and all that stuff first, which is important. And then from there, like once that is all set and ready, and have a friend look at it too. Like if you have a friend that's like in the same industry, get like their eyes on it, just kind of like, you know, make sure that it looks cool, whatever it is like you feel that like will help you feel more confident. Because for the next part of it, you're gonna have to be ultra confident, and which is actually booking clients. And so I'm gonna speak more to like booking like marketing clients or booking clients in that way. And we'll kind of loop back around to like the creator aspect from Laura. But for me, it's like you need to have like you need to be really confident when you're going to be pitching yourself, because if you're not confident in your service and you're not confident in your work and in your price and all that stuff, like either people are going to take advantage of you or they're just not going to like or they won't hire you. So
Yeah.
for me, it's really important to use your network. And Laura and I have discussed networking and just networking do's and don'ts, and we have those as previous lives. So definitely go and check them out on the Conscious Kitchen IGTV. But using your network is so important when you're looking for like clients or when you're starting off freelancing, because you have a powerful network of people that knows, you know, A and B and C. And so all you have to do is just kind of make those connections and let people know like, hey, I'm looking for more design work, or I'm looking for new marketing work. Like, do you know anyone that's interested in like in that type of service? And basically really just making those connections. And so that's really how I have been able to book all of my clients, is making those types of connections and using my network. And then within using my network, it's like word of mouth, it's like once you're working with someone, they'll be like, oh, hey, Elizabeth does this, like, and then they're like, oh, I want to talk to her too, and then it just kind of like trickles. And so it's really important to just to establish the your network and really just kind of reach out from there.
Yeah. How do you like establish yourself to just be putting yourself out there instead of just like pick cold or like emails? Like how other ways can people like put themselves out there as freelancers to
Yeah.
get jobs?
Yeah, so I mean, the cold emails is one thing, right? But that's not using your network, right? Because it's like maybe you're just kind of cold emailing somebody. But I mean, really, just you have to like text your friends. You got to email your friends. You got to reach out to them, and then reach out to like your old bosses and old coworkers, and let them know like, hey, I'm gonna go out on my own. I'm gonna do freelancing. Like, is there anyone that you know that's looking for help? And even if they say no, at least it's in their mind, so that when somebody like 5 months later is like, hey, I really need help with a designer, they're like, oh, I know a friend, and it pops in that way. Other ways, it's like you can use like LinkedIn, like normal places like LinkedIn, try to make connections through there. But yeah, those are mostly like how I would get clients, especially now in times of COVID, right? Because before we used to be able to meet more people, we would go and like hang out and just kind of like have that more of organic meet face to face. But now that we're not meeting as many people, it's a little bit like everything is more digital now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's good. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think like the ways that I've like especially since I moved to another country, I think the ways that I've been trying to put myself out there is like finding like agencies or representatives that work for like brands that align with me, brands that, meet my ethos, and reaching out to these agencies or marketing agencies that that represent the brands that I work with. And even if I don't get an email back or anything, I always just like try to put myself out there. Hey,
Yeah.
what's up? My name is Laura. I just moved to Spain. Like, I just want to let you know that, if you have any jobs or opportunities available that are coming, like, this is the brands that I've worked with in the past, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, just introducing yourself. Even if you don't get like a thing, if you don't get a reply back, it's always good to just introduce yourself in a nice, kind, and realistic manner.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
the best.
And that's something that we do too, even like for the podcast, because we're always like looking for sponsors for our podcast. So if you guys know anyone, definitely hit us up. But we're always just kind of making those connections. And a lot of the times, because podcasting and advertising is still new, we get like a lot of, oh, well, not yet, or like, oh, we're not ready to advertise there yet. But it's like, but we're now on their mind, and we're now like, we now have that connection that in 6 months or something, we can follow back up and be like, hey, are you guys ready now to talk about this particular like project or job or whatever it may be?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, Liz. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about like outs, like definitely things you don't want to do as a freelancer. I would definitely suggest like not setting a goal for yourself as a freelancer. And I think that it's really important when you decide to go freelance, like really determine on what you want to accomplish, right? Like how many clients do you want to have like in your roster, how many clients that you want to have within the year. If you're going to quit your full-time job to start freelancing, you're going to need to figure out how much you're going to need in freelance work and in income to be able to support yourself monthly and like to figure out your bills and all these things. So I would definitely say figure out how much to charge for your work,
Hmm.
how many projects you'll need per month, things like that. I think that's definitely something super important to be a freelancer. It's not just about the clients or networking and all these things. It's really about setting goals for yourself, because you can't freelance if you can't like survive, right? I mean, you can freelance if you can't survive, but I definitely would say, in order to, make sure that you reach out in order to land those projects, make sure that you set a goal for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's so important to really in on like on your finances, right? And then beyond that, it's don't really value your time, because your time is valuable, and your experience is what has made your time valuable. So when it comes to how you're gonna charge, like what your price and what your rate is gonna be, like really shoot for what you want, like really shoot for what you want, like, and understand sometimes people are gonna try to like lowball you, and it's happened to me so many times, like almost always. like change my rate, but at least if there's a discussion there, you know? It's like, but if you start off with what you really want, then you can find like a common ground with your potential new client or your potential collaborator. And by that I mean like either taking down some of the hours. They say like, oh, you know, I can actually really afford $5,000 a month or something, right? That's kind of a crazy number, but I can only afford 5,000, right? And then you say, okay, well, if that's all you can afford, then I'll create like another second. I'll create another proposal for you, and maybe it'll be less hours or less of like or less of this or less of that. But you can just adjust and try to find like it's so you can still really get the work that you really want as like a freelancer.
Yeah, I think that's really important, Liz, and making sure that that yeah, you could back it up with your testimonials, you could back it up with your past clients, your roster of people that you worked with, all these things that so you can get that job and the pay that you really want, because the money is out there, but you got to make sure that you're finding the right clients and projects that fit your needs and your wants. So yeah, those are all really good points, Liz.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in the beginning, right? Like in the beginning, as a new freelancer, you're gonna have to probably find a common ground with like your rate because you're new, right? And so some people are gonna be like, I don't know, they just might not pay as much. So in the beginning, you might want to be a bit more flexible with your rate, but really shoot for what you want, and then kind of just like go and adjust and make adjustments and make updated proposals. And it'll be up to you if you decide to charge for proposals. I don't do that, but I do have freelancing friends that actually charge to create a proposal because it does take time, right? Sometimes it takes me like an hour and a half to write up like a whole thing. So decide if you're going to be like charging for those types of like services, because within the proposal, there's a lot of ideas and a lot of like things that of value. So
Hell yeah. Yep, that's super important. So also when with income and planning and goal and setting goals, like what happens when you actually get the clients when you're freelancing? If you guys are just tapping in, we're talking about ins and outs of freelancing for this day and age. I mean, you guys got to know what's up, and we all need to keep this information flowing, especially so many of us are quitting our 9 to 5 jobs these days, especially after COVID and during
yeah,
COVID and all these things. So I definitely talk about I would definitely say get everything in writing.
right.
um, that's very important. A big mistake that a lot of freelancers make is failing to have their clients sign a contract. A lot of people like love the opportunity of like actually just getting the job and everyone's excited
Hmm.
because it's an opportunity, but like actually just signing a contract and making sure that there's boundaries in there. All that information that that you get the client's good word that they're going to pay you on time, that they're going to pay you when the project's done, all these certain things. So making sure that you could find any type of these contracts online. You could go on just go on Google. There's a bunch of free contracts that you can get. But also if it's something more of a serious job, like a year worth of freelancing, or even a month worth of freelancing, making sure that
Yeah.
you have a proper lawyer to look over your documents to make sure that they pay you. You have some sort of banking information from your client, that they have also a good withstanding of paying their freelancers, things like that. So just cover your ass, make sure that anything like that, your ass is covered. And this extra step really helps with clears up any confusion and the confusion with pricing and all these types of revisions that could happen within a contract of freelancing, because things change. People get fired, people get hired, people's budgets go up and down, things like that. So making sure that your ass is covered. So definitely get in writing.
Yes, for sure. So true. Like I had a client like in the beginning of my freelancing career that he was like, yeah, I'm gonna pay you this. And I didn't, and that was, I just didn't get into writing because it was so in passing. And then he just never paid me for any of it. And I was like, damn, that's super. So after that, I was like, never, even with friends, even if it's someone that's super close to me is hiring me for something, I'm going to send them a proposal. I'm going to say when I need to be paid by, I'm going to say my rate, like everything is going to be really just listed out. But I love that it's like, oh yeah, even have them sign a contract. I typically don't have my clients sign contracts. Just, I don't know, I just haven't, but that's like a really good idea.
Yeah, because people get fired and things could happen, right? Things could happen within the cracks, or the email might bounce back, and who's the lead on the person that's for accounting to pay you. So yeah, but yeah, I'm sure that you work with great people. So yeah. So you guys, thanks for joining in, guys. Whoever's staying in, we're talking about freelancing ins and outs. We're the Conscious Kitchen podcast. We're calling in plant like things with Lizzie, and we are freelancers. So we just want to give you guys some helpful tips on freelancing. We've talked about contracts. We've talked about setting goals. And we talked about networking. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about ways that we can get those actual jobs as freelancers. Maybe that could be helpful too.
Yeah, tell me how you, so I talked about a little bit about how I get like my clients. Tell me how you get some of like your like your clients within like the creator space.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I definitely like to cold pitch myself, like, sending that email, the press kit, to clients, or making sure that I get the direct marketing person on the email, whether it be on DM on Instagram or a friend, or like word of mouth situation. But I mean, there's so many different ways that you can market yourself, through I got some websites for freelancers if you're interested in, there's definitely targeted LinkedIn groups we could use. There's Facebook, there's Twitter. There's definitely a lot of niche social media sites, like putting yourself on freelancer.com. There's Angie's List, Guru, I heard is really good, and Local Mart. Those are some really good ways that you guys can get some freelancing jobs, y'all.
Awesome. Very cool. I want to talk a little bit about like the pros and cons of freelancing, right? Because like even freelancing, it gives you a lot of flexibility and freedom, but it's not perfect. It's like there definitely is like there's pros and cons, right? So some of like the pros of like a flexible work schedule, acquisitions of new skills, the ability to work anywhere, which is like one of mine and Laura's favorite things. Like, while Laura was here, she was like working while I'm gonna be on my road trip, like, or back home in New Jersey, I'm gonna be working, and I can only do that as a freelancer, which is nice. Tax deductions, which is a big one here in the United States, like just the tax deductions for freelance work is just so much more than you can like deduct when you're working for someone. You can be selective with your clients, so you can really determine who you really want to work with. Like Laura said, do they match your ethos? Like, do they match like what you want to accomplish as a freelancer? And no commuting, and no office politics, which is nice, right? It's like none of that, like, just I don't know, just little funny office politics that occur when you're like working in office. So some of the cons are inconsistent income, because that's very true. There's sometimes when you're going to be killing it, and there are some times where the work is just going to be dry, and so you're really going to have to plan for those times. So when money's coming in, you better be saving some of that money, just putting some of that aside, because who knows, like in the next 6 months you might not have as many clients. No job security, right? You don't have like vacation times, like you don't have like paid days off, like none of that stuff. No benefits. Increased like financial like workload. Most of them, I guess, are predominantly like financial, I guess, like no paid time off. And then one of the cons can be that you're juggling multiple clients at once, which can be a bit difficult sometimes. Like if you end up taking on too much of a large workload, you can be juggling too much, and you can just be a little bit all over the place. So you really need to determine like how many clients can I really take on so that I could still produce my best work. So those are just some pros and cons to consider and think about.
Yeah, those are all really great, Liz. Stuff that I didn't think about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. All right. Well, yeah, so we just to recap what we talked today about freelancing, ins and outs, definitely an in, develop your brand and start pitching, guys.
Hmm.
Definitely an in, everything in writing, get everything writing, get a contract going, get a verbal signed agreement, whatever you can. Also, things that's out is definitely not setting a goal for yourself and develop a plan to meet them. Making sure that you need to figure out how much you need to budget out yourself to make enough money to support yourself if you want to leave your 9 to 5 job, things like that. And yeah, and definitely get out there in thing to do. Market yourself across multiple platforms. Does it matter where you get your clients? No. All that matters is that you're actually getting clients that you align with, that pay you, that are reliable, and that you're getting a consistent stream of income a month, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and so Laura, do you have any tips on like on determining your pay rate? Like, how do you determine your pay rate? Is it based on like is it different for each client or for each project? Like, how do you determine that?
I definitely determine the pay rate by the type of business or personal brand it is. I definitely check to see, before I speak with a client, I definitely ask them what their budget is, and I tell them what typically my fees are, and then we try to work on that. If it's a big corporation, I definitely go with like at least five figures with working with them. I've worked with Adidas, I've worked with Puma. I've worked with Beats by Dre, so I know that their budgets are much, much higher with the corporation. So definitely depends on the company or who the brand is
Yes, got it.
per
Okay.
client.
Yeah, so it's like per client.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I sort of do similar things, but with I think usually I like to start with like analyzing how much time it's going to take me, and I like to have like a base rate of an hourly rate. So it's like I like to start with like, all right, how much time will I really need for this project, and how much do I want to get paid hourly for my time? And then from there, like I kind of start with that, and then I just kind of add things like, all right, is it going to require what are they going to keep these particular assets? Use these forever, like that adds value, so I'm going to charge a little bit more. So similar to what you said, it depends on like what the project is, and then just kind of like determine, what you can upcharge on, like what you can be like, all right, I don't need to get paid as much there.
Yeah, those were all really helpful tips, Liz. Yeah, thinking about the content you're making and how long it's going to have a shelf life. Yeah, I mean, yeah, factoring the time, factoring like if it's something. I mean, we're obviously going to start like working more with people now with post COVID vaccinations, everything like. Are you going to have a per diem? Do you have to travel? Things like that. So including some of that stuff too.
Yeah,
Also in
yeah.
your daily fees and costs. And just
So
like even are you as you are as a freelancer, you still have overhead costs, right? As a
mhm.
freelancer, you're gonna have overhead costs of like running your website, running any type of software you need for like editing, like Grammarly or any of your Google software stuff that you need to pay for monthly, like incorporating that. So that's also things to think about on top of your hourly rate and the content that you're producing too. So definitely add that into your plan, right? Because what we're
Yeah,
doing is definitely setting goals and developing a plan to meet them as a freelancer.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Laura. Those are
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys have any other questions, go ahead and add in the comments. We'll definitely be love to answer any questions you guys have about freelancing. Liz and I have been doing this for like several years now. So you're asking the pros. If you guys want to ask any questions about freelancing, we got you.
yeah, yeah. And it's really, I mean, with freelancing, you learn every time that you're pitching yourself, every time you get a no, every time that you get a yes, like you're just developing more confidence, developing like, just a stronger like skill set for pitching, because pitching yourself is really can be one of like that'll be one of the things that'll make or break you. Because if you're not confident in like the pitching moments, it's like it gets really difficult.
Yeah.
LLC versus Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, yeah. Jen. Hey, babe. So Jen just started this P9 mentorship for artists for the youth in California. So we're going to be working together on that. I'm so excited for Filipino artists, for female Filipino artists, young ones. So I'm excited to join her collective with that. LLC versus sole proprietor as a freelancer. It depends on an LLC is usually a partnership. Sole proprietor is, I believe it's just a single identity. So it depends on how you want to pay your taxes. So LLC will be distributed as a partnership on all income as a business, and sole proprietor is different. So definitely do your research on how you want to pay your taxes.
Right.
And yeah, an LLC is yearly, um, bi-monthly,
Oh,
or another way. So you gotta figure it out. But sole proprietor is also a different way to pay your taxes. So definitely look into it depending on how you want to pay your taxes.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there any other little things you want to mention today?
Yeah, freelancing is hard fucking work. So you gotta definitely get scared, do something fearful of yourself daily, weekly,
Hmm.
monthly. Listen to as many like networking, like podcasts, connect with old clients, connect with old people, anything you can to just make sure that, that you have that steady flow of business and income coming in, but also saving for when you do have those dry spells, as what Liz mentioned. So that's definitely things to think about. And yeah, I think that's it. But we'd love if you guys could definitely check out our newest season 4 of the Conscious Kitchen podcast. It's out. We just released one yesterday about Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Liz?
Yes, and if you guys are not on Clubhouse, like you need to be on Clubhouse. It's such a great, amazing place for even networking. Like even I
I got
see.
a client. I got a client on Clubhouse, so definitely
Yeah.
check out Clubhouse.
How did you get that client? Tell us like how you got that client from Clubhouse.
She messaged me because I forgot what the room was in
Yeah.
Clubhouse, but I was like, hey, I did a fashion brand, and then Heather, who's my mentee now, she was like, oh, she's like, I followed you in here. I followed you from another room into this room, and yeah, I would love for you to mentor me. I have this baby kids line, and yeah, it's doing well. She's I think she's in Kentucky. But so it's been really pleasantly nice to find clients on Clubhouse, because that's what you want to do. You want to build your network and be able to like grow with your clients and stuff. So Clubhouse is great. So definitely get on Clubhouse.
Yeah, so Clubhouse, and so there are even like networking rooms, like for within your industry, there are networking rooms, but then also
Exactly.
just going into the rooms. And so like basically our Clubhouse episode is episode 31, and it features Hala Taha, who basically is like, I don't know, to us she feels like it's like they call her the Palestinian podcasting princess,
Yes.
which I love. But
Yeah.
damn, been on one of her rooms today, and she's just like just so damn knowledgeable. And so basically that episode goes into everything: how you can monetize a room, how to be the best moderator, but even just how to grow on that particular platform. But you can meet people, because it's basically like you go up to stage and it's like a panel, right? It's basically like if you're like at a convention and you're going into different rooms and you raise your hand, they bring you up to stage, and in that moment when you kind of pitch yourself or just say like whatever it is, like, oh, introduce yourself, and in your introduction, that's probably how you got your mentee. Like you introduced yourself, and then she was like, wait, who is this? And then they went to your page and they're like, oh, their Instagram, and they're like, oh my gosh. And so that connection is there. And so Clubhouse is a great place for connecting, and I think it's like a great place for like freelancing work as well. So definitely check
Yeah.
it out and share it with anyone that's interested in Clubhouse. Share it with someone that's not on Clubhouse. And if you need an invite, Laura and I have like mounds of invites, because we have the Conscious Kitchen Club, where we host a discussion every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. And so we can invite you through our club. So if you're still waiting for an invitation to Clubhouse, let us know. DM us and we'll send you a link.
Yeah. Please join us on Clubhouse. Yes. And also listen to that episode we just released yesterday, episode 31. What is Clubhouse? How do you get into the Clubhouse and all things goody, goody, goody. So thank you,
Yeah.
Liz. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us today. We'll
Yeah.
be sure to share this this IGTV back on our feed. So if you want to, get any more information, we'll be able to share it with you guys.
And next week I will be away, so you guys will have Laura as your host, and you'll be chatting with Leslie next week, correct?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about branding. She is an amazing, amazing person that deals with branding from like all kinds of different facets of creative direction to logos to, like finding your purpose with their branding and all these things. So I'm excited to have her on. So you guys join us every Wednesday for the Conscious Tea. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining, and be sure to check out the Conscious Kitchen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us a review, subscribe, follow us, and be sure to support independent podcasters like us.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Laura. Have an amazing evening. It's
You too,
fun.
babe.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.